Hello and welcome everyone. So in this tutorial we are going to learn Angular, how you can write web applications using most popular JavaScript framework right now, that's Angular. The current version of Angular is version 9 and we will be continuing with it. Now I won't be talking much about the details and like things which are related to talkative stuff and the description of the framework and these things. I would be more over oriented towards writing the code actually and developing a simple application first of all, so that you can know like how you can get started by setting up an Angular application, its environment, and create your first application as soon as possible. So this is a getting started project, so this is for the newcomers who don't know what Angular is or who are keen to know like how Angular framework works. So this course is more directed towards those kind of people. So if you are a professional or an expert who is looking for a course to expand his skill set, this might not be a course for you. This is for the people who are getting started, or college students, or someone who is interested in starting with Angular. So without wasting much of our time, I would be starting by going to the web browser first. So here we are going to visit most genuine site related to Angular, that is angular.io. You can search it on Google. Once you are on angular.io, you will find all the stuff that's related to Angular and their official community guidelines, events, blogs, docs, and all these stuffs. So we would be going to the bottom of the screen, that's getting started with Angular applications. Alright, so we are over here. So the instructions is this is your how you can get started with Angular using your first application. Alright, so before you continue with this course, you must be aware that this uses HTML and JavaScript. So everything you do related to the logical part of this course is not in the native JavaScript, it's in the TypeScript. First of all, this is Angular version 9, so it's based on TypeScript. So this talks about how you can create your first new project and take help of Stackbliss, which is running an application for you already. So you can take a look of the code and what it generates on the live side. So this is their sample application, which is and it shows my store option at the top and a checkout option and the label of products. So let's break down what is actually happening over here. So this is your app.component.css, app.component.html, and app.component.ts. So these are the three files which make a component altogether. So component over here is, let's say, a piece of a block that together makes the application fully functional. For example, I can break this application into two components. This can be a header component and this could be a content component, and together these two components would be lying under an overall wrapper, which is the app component. Alright, so app component can be called as your root component for the Angular application. So how these things are getting loaded, let me show you guys how that's done. So app.component.html has this container. At the top it has this app top bar. Alright, so this app top bar is this blue top bar over here, and this container is the section which shows the products. So how the products is getting loaded when there is nothing over here. So this is the router outlet. Router outlets are those things which show the component based on your routes at the URL. Alright, so for example, this is a route which can render some other component, and if I change it over here, it could load some other component. So how does the Angular framework know that which component it should load? For that we have an app.module.ts file. Module is the main informative part of this Angular application, which shows which components can be loaded in the application, which routes can be loaded in the application, and what other third-party libraries or functionalities can be added to the applications. Once we build the application, only those parts of the application which are listed in app.module or some other module and then loaded into app.module are only visible to the application. anything out of the app dot module or any sub module won't be visible on the application, and Angular itself is pretty informative that it will show you errors while you do that. I won't be going much into the details, and let me show you how the products are getting loaded. So here is the router module, which belongs to Angular router module, and then over here we are passing that the route which has no trailing slash or anything available in front of it. These should load the product list component. So what's the product list component? It says that this component is loaded from product list and product list component file. So if we see over here, product list is this package over here, and the product list component is this file over here. Alright, so if we check out the HTML for this, this is the thing that is visible over here. If I modify it over here, it should be visible. Alright, can you guys see the changes over here? So this is how you modify an Angular application. Anything done wrong will show you errors over here. Alright, let me fix that thing for you. Okay, so this was an overview of what an Angular application looks like. I would be breaking down the code structure of the application soon, once we start setting up our environment and creating our own application. So let's move on to next step, like setting up our Angular environment. So getting started brings you to the part of this website which helps you to develop the application actually. But before you can develop and write the commands that are related to Angular and the browser which can understand the compiled Angular application, before that you need to set up your Angular environment. For that, you need to go to the introduction section of your angular.io website. Over here, you don't need to go to the first section, that's learn. Learn belongs to that part which comes into the play after you have the environment. So we'll be going to start working. Here two main things are needed to get started for you to develop your Angular applications. First, it is the Node.js. These are prerequisites. You can also learn them and explore them yourself. It's better to learn them yourself once you go through this tutorial. What you have to do is you need to download Node.js for your application, for your operating system. So you can see what all things they provide over here, and then to download the latest stable version, you can go to nodejs.org/en/download, or you can simply go to current active LTS, and then you would be directed towards this site. If you have a Mac OS, you need to select this option. If you have any other thing like Linux, Ubuntu, Mint, you need to choose the source code and then follow the operation instructions provided over there. I have a Windows machine, so I would be downloading a Windows installer, and I already have Node.js in my system, and I can show you how you guys can install this. You simply need to choose the operating system compatible for your you simply need to choose the version of Node.js compatible with the operating system and then select it. Once this gets downloaded, you guys simply have to click on install, and then you'll be directed toward next screens. After the installation is done, you can verify your installation using node command. I would be showing you guys how to do that too. Alright, so download is complete. Let's test the installation. So let's install this. So you simply have to select next, accept the agreement, and then select next, and it will complete the installation for your Node.js. I already have Node.js installed, so I won't be performing that same flow again, and I will be showing you guys how you can check your Node.js installation once the installation is complete. To check the version of Node.js and if the installation is completed successfully, you need to open your command prompt or terminal through your Mac OS or Linux operating system. Simply go to cmd, write node, and at -v for short. And if you need to go into elaboration, you can go like this: node space hyphen version. This will show you which version of Node.js do you have. Current latest stable version is 12.16.1 and I have 12.14.1. This is fine. I am working with certain projects that require this version and it's not an issue for me. The other way to check your Node.js version is like node-v. So if you are facing some issues on Linux or Mac, you can try both these methods to check the version of Node.js you have installed. Now the second thing that you need is you need an Angular command line interface, which is also known as Angular CLI, to create your Angular application via command prompt. So the first step to install Angular CLI can only be done once you have Node.js installed. Alright, because we need npm and via npm we need to install Angular CLI. So these two things are needed before we can continue with creating our first Angular application. So once you have Node.js installed, you would be having npm as well. So you can check the version of npm by similarly going to command prompt and then writing npm-v. This will show you the version of npm you have. So I have npm installed once I installed the Node.js. So if you guys face any issues in finding the version, or if the npm isn't installed, you guys can comment in the comment section of this video and I'll be helping you out like how you can install the npm and Node.js on your operating system. Now next step is to install Angular CLI. So the instructions are very clear. You have npm, you have Node.js, then only thing you need is npm install -g @angular/CLI. So you can either copy the command from here or you can simply click the copy snippet option. Alright, so once this code is copied, you similarly need to go to cmd. You can open your command prompt on Windows or terminal on your Mac OS and Ubuntu, and then paste the command over there and then simply click on enter, and this will make the installation complete. Once your installation is complete, you would be up and ready to create your first Angular application. Alright, let me show you guys how you can create your first Angular application. So we'll be following their instructions only, which they have on angular.io. Once we create our first application, I would be directing you guys how you can follow the other step, which is your first app tutorial, and start creating your application further. So before that, let's create our first application using the command they have over there, ng-new my-app. Alright, so let me go to an empty folder. I need to open the command prompt over here. On Windows, I can do that by Control Shift and then right mouse click and opening the command window here, and then pasting the command and then clicking on enter. This will create the application folder and architecture, as well as install the npm dependencies, node package manager dependencies that are required for the Angular application. So it will ask you for some information that you would need in your Angular application. So it's asking me if I need routing. Routing means the direction of URLs that we have. For example, you go to google.com/about us, that will show you the about us section of the page. So it's basically routing of the application to the main direction of the page that user needs. For example, a user searching for cartoons should be directed to the cartoons page of your e-commerce website. So that kind of thing is needed with the routing. So I would be needing this to show you guys how you can continue with routing. So I am selecting yes. It's asking me which styles format I would like to use. For simplicity, I am using CSS only. So it has created the application for me, and now it's installing the packages that I would need in my Angular application. So this installation might take some time depending on the internet connection speed, as well as your operating system and the configuration of your system. So you guys might have to wait, and that's pretty normal. So the installation is now complete, and now the next step is to open this project in a code editor. The code editor which I am using is Visual Studio Code. You can search for it. It's a free code editor which you can use for all the operating system. you can go to code.visualstudio.com, click on download and select the operating system of your choice and start the installation. So you can do this thing on your own. The steps are similar to what we have done for Node.js. And now I'll be opening this project in our code editor. So I would be going to file, add folder to the workspace, and I have my project over here. So this is the first application, my app, and I would be adding it to my workspace. So let's break down to some basic stuff before we continue. So this is the package.json. This is the file which instructs the application like what all dependencies it has. Like I would be using Angular animations, Angular common, core library of Angular, forms, and platform browser related stuff. Angular outer is also over here. RxJS is a very important library which you would be knowing when we would be working with it. The developer dependencies, for example, CodeLizer, Jasmine, and these for testing. TypeScript, which would be the actual development helper for us in writing the logical stuff in the application and creating the components. Apart from that, we have angular.json. So like we used to have the addition of CSS and JavaScript files in our HTML pages through head, that won't be the case with the Angular application. To add any CSS file, or we can say libraries via the relative or script tag, we would be using this alternative instead. This is the actual architect of the application, and it's the instruction how the application is built. So here it instructs that the styles files related to CSS, SCSS, and other files would be added over here in this array of styles. Assets would be added over here, and the scripts would be similarly added over here. For example, if there was a file called style.js, I would be adding it over here like this. Alright, right now I don't have it, so I'm reviewing it once again. These are the environments of the application. So if you have an Angular application and there are 2-3 different environments, for example dev, production, and testing, so there might be different variables or instructions that would be different for different environments. For example, the route to your backend, or your what we can say different S3 bucket targets. So these things can be configured through environment.ts files. There is a package called environments, and there are 2 files by default. You can add one more for test server and other files as you need. So those can be configured over here. Assets folder is responsible for the external files that you have. For example, you can add different logos, images over here in the assets. Alright, so similar to what we had in the starting of the project, there is an app module file which shows the app routing module. This app routing module is responsible for the routing related information of the project. So this is what we have added in the installation. At the time of installation, the command that we gave for the requirement of Angular routing, this is the command which created this file. This is the default file. Right now there are no routes into it, and in the application.html there is some default HTML, and the component is completely empty with simple title. Alright, spec.ts is a file that's responsible for the testing of application. We are not focusing this right now. What we are focused on moreover is how you can start working with your first Angular application. So let's start by running the application. For that you need to go to the inside the folder. So when you create the project, the folder is created and you are not by default inside that folder. To do that, you need to use cd/space my app. That this is the project name that you have created. Once you are inside the project, you would be seeing that the directory path is changed to your project, and now you can simply run npm start. This command will start the Angular application using the Angular server. This is all installed by that command we wrote in the initial stage of setting up the environment for our Angular application. So our compilation is successfully done, and we can now run our application on this URL. Instead of ng serve, we could also use npm start, we could also run our application using Angular Cli command, which is, let me show you guys, it's ng serve. This will serve the application, and if you need to open the browser window directly without opening it manually yourself, you can use -o. So this will serve the application as well as open the browser once the application is compiled successfully. So this is our first Angular application up and running completely fine. There are no errors, and this is the smooth installation that we can do for setting up our first Angular application. So in next tutorial, I would be going through your first app tutorial which they have on their website and showing you guys how you can do the stuff that they have on their website and understand what they are doing actually. Alright guys, so I think this video is long enough to understand how you can get started with Angular, and be with me, have patience, and we'll be learning more creative stuff in the next video. Bye guys, do subscribe to my channel.